MotoGP fans, today we talk about a story that carries both hope and caution. It's a story not just about a single podium. It's about survival, it's about revival, and perhaps about redemption. Because at the 2025 Spanish Grand Prix in Jerez, Fabio Quatararo didn't just cross the finish line in second place. He crossed a threshold Yamaha had been banging its fists against for over 2 painful years. Let's take a step back before we dive deep. The MotoGP landscape has changed massively. Jorge Martin, the reigning world champion, no longer rides for Pramac Ducati. He's now leading the charge for the factory Aprilia team, a symbol of new blood in a factory desperate to ascend to greatness. Meanwhile, Ducati made one of the most controversial decisions in MotoGP history. When it came time to choose for the future, Ducati selected Marquez, the 6-time Premier Class champion, the rebellious artist of motorcycle racing, over Jorge Martin. And Marquez, after decades of blood, sweat, and broken bones with Honda, now wears the red armor of Ducati's factory team in 2025. Riding alongside him? None other than the 2-time world champion Pecco Bagnaia, the man who once carried Ducati's factory honor single-handedly. Together, they form perhaps the most powerful lineup MotoGP has seen in decades. But while the factory Ducati duo battles for supremacy and Aprilia dreams of a dynasty with Martin, another story, a quieter story, is unfolding at the back of the grid. A story about a wounded giant trying to stand again. A story about Yamaha. And at the heart of it, Fabio Quatararo. For 2 long years, Yamaha roamed the desert of MotoGP without a podium. 2 years, no podium. Since the 2023 Indonesian Grand Prix, Yamaha had not tasted the sweet metallic aftertaste of champagne on the rostrum. And if that drought wasn't brutal enough, the last time Yamaha even took a pole position before Jerez 2025, it was back in 2022, also in Indonesia. It's hard to describe the psychological toll of that kind of exile. A brand that once ruled the sport with Jorge Lorenzo, Valentino Rossi, and Quatararo himself was now simply fighting for points. At times, fighting just to finish. The critics sharpened their knives. The fans stopped hoping. Even Quatararo, the man who once screamed down the Mugello Straits with invincibility, seemed lost in frustration. But something changed at Jerez. Something important. Fabio Quatararo snatched pole position with a new lap record. And then, when the lights went out, he held his ground. He battled tooth and nail with Pecco Bagnaia, a 2-time world champion who has carved his name into Ducati's history, and he held on. Second place, a place on the podium. For the first time in 2 years, Yamaha returned to where legends stand. And this wasn't just a freak accident. It wasn't a lottery result born from chaos or rain. It was real. It was earned. Speaking after the race, Yamaha managing director Paolo Pavesio was refreshingly candid. He admitted it. The result came quicker than we could expect. Before Jerez, Quatararo had barely cracked the top 5 all season. Jack Miller, riding for Pramac Ducati, had finished 5th once at Austin, but that was in a crash-filled race. Consistency? Yamaha had none. And yet, in Jerez, on a fast-flowing, high-pressure circuit where braking stability and turning speed are everything, Yamaha delivered. Fabio delivered. More than speed, it was consistency. From the very first free practice session to the final lap of the race, Quatararo was at the sharp end. That, Pavesio emphasized, was the true miracle. Not the result, but the way the result came. It came after a very solid weekend, he said. And this is important for him, but it's important for the program, all the people working on it. It gives a boost. And make no mistake, Yamaha needed this boost, badly. But there's a caution in Quatararo's voice. He's been around long enough to know better than to believe in fairy tales. Speaking after the race, Fabio warned fans, and himself, not to raise expectations too quickly. He admitted that Yamaha had skipped steps in their development. In other words, the podium was a beautiful moment, but it didn't mean all the problems were solved overnight. It didn't mean Yamaha was ready to challenge Ducati and Aprilia week after week. Not yet. Still, there are reasons for hope. The Monday after the race, Yamaha tested a new engine at Jerez, and the feedback? Positive. For the first time in 2 years, there's real, tangible momentum. Pavesio summed it up perfectly. We are here to try and have this special emotion coming more often and maybe becoming normal again. The bigger picture, where does Yamaha fit in the new MotoGP order? It's important to zoom out and see the entire battlefield. 2025 MotoGP is not 2022. It's not even 2023. The dominance of Ducati is nearly absolute. Factory Ducati, VR46 Gresini, Ducati teams litter the top 10 nearly every weekend. On pure machinery, Ducati still leads. And now they have Marquez, the ultimate race predator, leading the charge alongside a Pecco Bagnaia desperately trying to reassert his dominance. Meanwhile, Aprilia, with Jorge Martin, is no longer the plucky underdog. They're a real threat. KTM, with Maverick Vinales finding fresh rhythm and Pedro Acosta's raw talent emerging, they're finally connecting their power to results. Against that tidal wave of factory ambition, Yamaha is still David facing Goliath. One podium doesn't change that, but it shows that maybe, just maybe, David remembered where he left his slingshot. Fabio Quatararo, the man who refuses to break. Quatararo's journey these past 2 years is nothing short of heartbreaking. The 2021 world champion once looked destined for a dynasty. His precision, his consistency, his fearlessness, they were unmatched. But Yamaha's spiral turned his brilliance into bitterness. Week after week, he rode his heart out just to finish 7th, 8th, sometimes even outside the points. His body language at press conferences said it all. Tight, guarded, disillusioned. And yet, he stayed. Unlike Maverick Vinales, who bolted for Aprilia, unlike Franco Morbidelli, who sought refuge elsewhere, Fabio stayed. He chose loyalty over escape. And now, in 2025, when Yamaha finally flickers back to life, it's fitting that it's Fabio who stands on the podium. Not a replacement, not a lucky wild card. Fabio, the man who refused to break. The road ahead, can Yamaha turn hope into habit? Here's the truth. One podium does not change everything. MotoGP is brutally honest. It exposes false dawns without mercy. And the next races, Le Mans, Mugello, Barcelona, will show whether Yamaha's progress is real or just a beautiful anomaly. Will the new engine updates close the horsepower deficit? Will the handling improvements make the M1 nimble enough to fight the Ducatis? Will the tire consumption, Yamaha's Achilles heel, finally improve? The questions hang in the air like the smell of burnt rubber. But for the first time in a long, long time, Yamaha fans can ask those questions with hope, not despair. Meanwhile, the heavyweight battle rages. As Yamaha dreams of resurgence, the brutal heavyweight fight at the front shows no mercy. Marquez, now fully integrated into Ducati's factory machine, looks terrifying. Despite crashes at Coda and Jerez, his sprint wins and race victories this season show that the old Marquez magic is alive and well. Pecco Bagnaia, struggling, trying to rediscover the serene dominance he once wielded. Jorge Martin, battling injuries, fighting to defend his #1 plate, adjusting to a new Aprilia project that promises so much but demands even more. And Alex Marquez? Yes, Marc's younger brother. Quietly, consistently, he leads the 2025 championship, a story few predicted. MotoGP in 2025 is a battlefield of shattered assumptions. It's chaotic, it's unpredictable, it's glorious. And maybe, just maybe, Yamaha is about to join the battle again. In conclusion, from survival to salvation. The podium at Jerez doesn't solve Yamaha's problems. It doesn't erase 2 years of suffering. It doesn't magically close the engineering gap to Ducati or Aprilia. But it means something. It means survival. It means belief. And sometimes in racing, as in life, belief is the first step towards salvation. Fabio Quatararo reminded Yamaha what it feels like to believe again. Now the real question begins. Can they turn belief into a habit? Can they turn hope into history? MotoGP will not wait. The engines are roaring, the war continues. And Yamaha? They're finally ready to fight again.